Right, friends, now we want to design a nav bar, a navigation bar. How do we design a navigation bar? So first of all, I'm going to still get rid of all this. We're still going to get rid of all this and refresh so that we have nothing. So now that we have our body, how do we design a navigation bar? A navigation bar is always at the header, so you have to put your navigation bar in a header. So we say header. Now first of all, when we talk about the navigation bar, what should be your navigation bar? I think most of the times if you visit the website, a navigation bar, first of all, you should have the logo of the website, right? You should have a logo of the website. And then secondly, that navigation bar is expected to contain some important links like home, contact us, and some sign up buttons and login buttons. All right, so that is what a navigation bar is expected to have. Now, how do we do this? Now, first of all, we say within our body, let me just put a space here. Within our body, we have a head. We have a header, not head. I said header, not head. Okay. Now, so within this our header, we're going to style our header, and say I want to put my header background. Let me give width. Width first should be 100%. All right, and now I'm going to give it a height of let's say 300 pixel. All right, I will give a background color of orange. All right, okay, now let me try and find a deep orange color. I want to find a deeper orange color. All right, so let's put it this way. Okay, let me find a lighter orange color instead of a deeper one first. Okay, so this is it. So let's see our result. All right, oh, that is too much. The height is too much. I'm going to give it, let's leave it at 200 pixel. All right, let's leave it at 200 pixel. All right, so now we have a header section, and you can see that there is a space at this top. So we use our universal selector to get rid of that. I have shown you how to use a universal selector. Use our universal selector and get rid of that. And let's say our margin 0. Let me also put padding to be 0. All right, so because that is now stocked appropriately. All right, now first of all, I want to add a logo. I'm going to add a logo and a button. I want to add a logo by the left and the name of my company at the middle, and then 2 buttons at the left, at the right, sorry, a logo at the left, my name at the right, and 2 buttons by the left. Okay, so what do? I'll come here and put nav is another reserved keyword. So I will say nav, and I want to give it an ID. I will say top nav. All right, so this is the topmost navigation. All right, so let me make this way. Now the first thing I'm going to add in that navigation bar, is an image, a logo. I'm going to add an image. All right, so I will add an image, and I will search our image as usual, and then I'm going to use that thing as my image. And my alternate text, I will say logo of training. All right, so because we are in a training, I'll say logo of a training. Now let's see. You can see that an image is now here, but that image is too large to be an image. It's just too large. But meanwhile, let me use a PNG image. I think I have a PNG. I think I have a PNG image here. That a PNG image takes the background where it is put. All right, it takes the background. So I think I have a PNG image. Let's see that one. All right, that's how a PNG image. Also, I want to reduce the size of this. So within my image here, like I said, I can simply use my inline CSS to say my width should be, let me call it 100 pixel, and my height, the height of that image should be 100 pixels. So let's see how it does. Okay, we now have, I think that is still too large. Let's make it 50 by 50. Let's make it 50 by 50. All right, I think that's okay. That's okay. And this my image, I want to give it a class. I want to give it an ID of logo. I want to give it an ID of logo. Okay, and let's try and increase that image to 70. Let's try and increase that image to 70. Let's see how it is. All right, this is far much better. I want my image to have a border, and so I'm going to style that my logo and say logo. Sorry, because it's an ID, I have to put a hashtag. I will say logo. I will say my logo should have a border of solid blue. All right, and I also want it to move a bit from the top. I will say margin top, I will say 20 pixels. Let this move a bit away from the top. All right, so I think this is okay now. I think that 20 pixel is quite much, so I will say 10 pixel. All right, I will say 10 pixel. All right, this is better now. All right, let me put a border radius to make it look more of like a local, and this color I want to make it a deeper blue. Okay, seeing that blue is quite too deep. It's quite too deep. All right, let's use this. All right, now again is that I want to make my border radius. Let me make it to be round. Border radius. Let me give you a border radius of 10 pixel. All right, this border radius of 10 pixel. All right. Okay, but seems I need to also add margin left 10 pixels, so that my logo can move away. It's so much sticked by the side. All right, now that's my logo. Now what next do I add within my nav bar? I will add a h1. I'm going to give an ID to that h1. I'm going to call it title. Okay, I'm going to call it title, and I'm going to say my h1 is web dev training. They call it web dev training. All right, you can see that the web dev training is appearing below, but I would want it to rather appear. I want it to be at the middle here. So I'm going to come here and say my nav. In my nav, this is what we talk about positioning now. Okay, in my nav, okay, or whether nav, or I will say top nav, which means I want to show, I'm telling the top nav how to align my content. So I will say top nav, I will want your display, the way you display things, to be inline flex. All right, I use inline flex. Let me see what happens here. You can see that the training has now come by the left, but it needs padding. The text needs some padding top and some padding left and right to bring it to the center. So I'm going to style my title h1. Of course, that h1 that H1 has an ID of a title, so I like using ID more. So I'm going to say margin top. I'm going to give it 30 pixel since we gave this. Okay, let's just see the result. Okay, are you seeing? It's almost at the center of the logo. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to move that. I'm going to move it somewhere to the center, and I will say I will say margin left 50 pixel. You are seeing is moving, so if we give it about 150 pixel, it should be at the middle. So let's add one to it. It should come to the middle if we give it 150 pixel. Oh my god, it's not really doing that. All right, let's make it 500. If I make it 500, I don't know what will happen. All right, let's see. I think that's too much. Let's make it 400. Okay, let's make it 400. 400 will be good. All right, okay, that's that. Now what next? What again do I want to do? I want to put two buttons at the left here. So I want to put two buttons at the left here. So I'm going to put a UL list inside my top nav. Into my top nav, I'm going to say UL list. Now I want to put an anchor, two elements, two link elements, and I will have to duplicate it because I want to have two buttons inside that place. And I will also want to give this thing an ID of login. Okay, because I want to make that a login button. And I want to give this an ID of sign up. Okay, so let's put something here. Here I will say login. Now here I will say sign up. Is all right. Now let's see what happens. You can see that our login and sign up is now here. All right, but I'm going to float it. I'm going to float my UL list. I will say remember that this UL list is inside the top nav. So I will say top nav. All right, we say top nav. I'm going to say the UL list in our top nav. Okay, the UL list in our top nav should display. We should have a display of flex, inline flex, and it should float. It should float to right. It should float to right. All right, now let's see our result. You can see that is already on the left. Okay, but all right, it's not just the UL list, but the anchor tag in the UL list should float right. All right, let's see whether that will make it better. Sign up, login. Top nav UL should float right. Let me see whether that will do anything. All right, okay, what we're simply going to do is that we're going to add padding to move it. Okay, if we add padding, we can move it. If we add the padding, we can move it. All right, now let me know if this will work better. If we say nav URL, can it float? All right, it's the same thing whether top nav or nav is the same. All right, okay, now let's add our margin left. Let's add up to 1000 pixel. Let's know whether it's going to move it. to the extreme left. Oh my god, the thing disappeared. Okay, I think that was too much. That's why it couldn't contain in that place. Let's say 500 pixel. Okay, it has now moved to the extreme. So what we need to do now is to add padding top, and then just add padding top to bring it to the center here to align with this one. So we're going to add padding top, and we say 20 pixel. I think 20 pixel should be okay. All right, okay, let's make it 30. Let's make it 30 pixel so that it will align. Okay, let me know the pixel I gave to my title. I gave my title 30 pixel. Okay, right. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to increase the font size. This here inheritance will work here. The font size to be 20 pixels. So we're going to increase the font size of our text so that it can be 20 pixel. You can see that it's not 20 pixel, but it's not yet a button. Now we're going to work on the anchor tag in our top nav. So we're going to say top nav URL A. Okay, this is what we call complex styling, styling elements. All right, this is nested or complex tags. All right, so we say our color should be blue, but I want it to be deep blue. I want it to be very deep blue, the color of the text. All right, and I will want that it should have a background color of white, and there should be no text decoration. I don't want that underline that is there. Text decoration, I will say none. Text decoration, none. All right, let's see our result. We can now see. Okay, so we can also increase the length and the width. Can also increase the length and the width a bit. Can also increase the length and the width a bit. The width. Okay, the width, we want to say width of 100 pixel. Let's see whether that works. I think rather, what if we make it 1000? Let's see whether that does anything. Okay, there's nothing. That did not do anything at all. Okay, let's move it to our top nav URL. Let's see whether that will do anything. Okay, you can see that it increased the width. Okay, but because our padding left seems so much on this, our margin left seems so much on this, so I'm going to give it I'm going to say 450 here, so that the width can allow the width to stretch. Okay, so within my top nav A, I'm going to say margin left, I will say 15 pixel. Let me see. I want to separate the text appropriately. Let me remove this width here. I think this width is trying to cause some problem for us. All right, okay, so these are button, but something is still not fine. So I'm going to make it to look more like a button. Like I gave a background, I'm going to give it a border radius of 10 pixels so that it can look like a button. All right, so we can now have our sign up and our login button. But meanwhile, the width, let me add some width and the height to this. Let me see what happens. Let me see width 200 pixel. Then I want to add height of 200 pixel. So let's see if our button will increase a bit. So I don't know, that really didn't happen. All right, so the question is, how do we make our button bigger? So I think if we increase our font size to 30, our button should be bigger. All right, our button should be very much bigger, or let's say 25. It should increase. All right, we will now have a login and a sign up button. This is just a simple nav bar. This is not so much. Okay, I want to make this my, can change the color of this if you want, but this is that for that. Let us stop that one here. All right, so we have our button now. You can decide to make it a normal button. You can decide to make it a normal button if you want, but I just want to leave that there to show how this thing works. So again, I want to add some navigation link below here. Okay, so how do we do that? So I'm going to declare another nav. I'm going to declare another nav within the header, and I will call it, I'll just call it, give an ID of nav. The first one have an ID of top nav, this one have an ID of nav. All right, so I'm going to say within my nav I want to have a UL list. I want to have an ordered list. Now another ordered list. Another ordered list, I want to have some links, some anchor links. All right, so let me put this here and say, okay, control C. Let me put some I want to put about 5 links. All right, so here I will say home. I will say contact us. I will say shop. I will say blog. Now I will say academy. All right, now let's see what happens. Like you can see now that we have another group of links here. All right, so we want to align them to the center here. All right, we want to declare our distance and say in our nav, let every text be aligned at center. Let all the text be aligned at center. You can see that they are now in the center. All right, and the next thing I would love to do, I think this our logo is quite, the size of this our logo is quite much. So let's our logo, let's make it, sorry, where is it? Let's make it 60 please. That 70 is quite much. All right, so it makes it look somehow. Yeah, I think this is better. Right now we are working on the second one. Now what do? We have aligned our text to be center. Now we increase the font size. I like to increase the font size to, let's say, 25 pixel. Now this is better. Now you can see that there are still some things, so we're still going to say nav A. Our A in the nav, we want that there should be no text decoration, none. Don't want any text decoration. They are all gone. I want these things to space out to space out. Okay, I want them to space out, so we just add margin left and margin right to them. We say margin left, I will say 10 pixel, and I will say margin right 10 pixel will also be good. Okay, let's see our result. You can see that these things are now spread evenly. Okay, I can add more links to this, can add more links to it, but maybe you can spread it more and rather say 15 and say 15. Okay, all right, so you can now see that we have a very beautiful nav. Now you can see that the height is still much, so I'm going to decrease the height of my header. My header, the height is quite much, so my header, let me give it 100 pixel, 150 pixel, so that it will linear right. All right, friends, so this is our link. So you know that these links, they are dummy links that we didn't reference it to anywhere. So remember that you can always reference your this thing to somewhere. You can always, I can decide to reference this. Let me say I can reference this to an image, to our image. I can reference it to an image if you don't know, and I can also say that my target should be blank. All right, so I'm referencing this first link called home to an image that is in our folder, which means when I click on it, it's going to open an image. All right, you can see that this thing is now active. All right, it's now active because it's referring to an image. So let me open. Do you see what happened? You see what happened? So you see it. You see it. All right, so if you click on this, nothing happens. It still retains on the same because we didn't reference it to anywhere. But then we can say open this. So the first one we just added. So that's how you can add different links to all of this. Okay, this is how you can add different links to all of this. Now I would like to give my button some border. I like to give my button, this my first nav, some border so that they will look good. I will say border, let me say solid of 1 pixel, and I'll give it a blue border. All right, so I think that's better. I think that's quite better. That is quite better. Now we also want to change the title of the background title. My title, I want to change the color. I want to change the color to blue as well. All right, let me make it a deeper blue. Make it a deeper blue. Okay. All right, so this is basically how we can make a navigation bar. You can see that all these things you see, they are just there. You can make a navigation bar. This is our logo, this is our title, this is our login and sign up, and these are some of our navigation links. I would also love to give this my navigation a lighter background. Okay, this is my second nav, which I call nav. I'm going to give it a background. I'm going to give it a background. I'm going to give it a background color. I will also say orange, but this time around I want my orange color to be light, to be more transparent, to be okay. Let me make it more transparent. All right, so that more transparent than the former. Let's see what happens. It's not quite transparent. All right, so this is another thing you can do. You can add something to it. So that's just it. Okay, so this is many things you can do. You can give a background to this. You can make this. You can increase the, decrease the height of your header to match with the height so that it can move up to this and the rest of them. So that is just that to that. All right, so this is how to design a navigation bar, and I believe that you enjoy this. Remember that I can do many things with this, and the next thing we're going to go into our first web development project. Thank you and God bless you.